When it comes to what your family eats and drinks, you know your choices matter. You're the expert because you know what fits your life. And getting it right starts with good information. That's why America's beverage companies are sharing more information about our ingredients at goodtoknowfacts.org. No spin, no judgments, just the facts straight from the experts for more than 140 beverage ingredients. Visit goodtoknowfacts.org.
NetCredit is here to say yes, because you're more than a credit score. Apply in minutes and get a decision as soon as the same day. Loans offered by NetCredit or lending partner banks and serviced by NetCredit. Application subject to review and approval. Learn more at netcredit.com/partners. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
Doors closing.
You just missed a show.
What kind of show?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why pigeons are the true rulers of Chicago. You think the mayor's in charge? Wrong. Every CTA stop, every hot dog stand. They've got eyes everywhere.
Cicero is next. Doors open on the left.
Do you ever see baby pigeons? No, because they're grown full size in the secret basements under Wrigley Field.
Should we tell him I saw a baby pigeon once?
Don't. He'll write you up for treason. Also, there really are basements under Wrigley Field. That's not any sort of secret.
This is Tales from the Blue Line, my auditory anthology.
You look like management. Tell the truth. When's the last time you had a meeting without pigeons outside the window?
Funny you should ask, because I actually have a story this morning about a meeting, though not exactly the kind you're thinking of.
Janet slumped back in her cubicle chair, staring at her computer screen with all the enthusiasm of a cat watching a screensaver. Outlook had just blessed her with a notification no one in the office wanted to see. Mandatory all-staff meeting, 7 p.m. tonight. 7 o'clock, she muttered aloud. What are we, vampires? Her neighbor in the next cubicle, Carl, poked his head over the divider like a prairie dog. It's either layoffs or a motivational speaker, he groaned. And if it's a motivational speaker, I swear I'm going to set fire to my ergonomic chair. Janet clicked into the invite. The subject line was just as ominous. Alignment session. No agenda attached, no notes, just attendance required. Around the office, murmurs spread like a wave at a losing baseball game. Some said corporate was selling them off again. Others whispered about a big merger, though no one could remember what exactly their company did well enough to warrant a merger. Janet was fairly sure their entire department existed to make spreadsheets that no one ever read. She thought about skipping, making up an excuse about a dental emergency or a fainting aunt. But then she pictured Mr. Kessler, her humorless manager, scribbling her name down on some invisible blacklist. Nope, not worth the risk. By 6:55 p.m., Janet was trudging down the hall toward the conference room, her tote bag slung over one shoulder and the heavy air of impending doom pressing down. She wondered if this was how prisoners felt walking to the gallows. As she approached the door, she noticed something strange. Employees she didn't recognize were filing in. A woman in a dated pencil skirt straight out of the 1960s, a guy with suspenders and thick glasses who looked like he'd been Xeroxed straight out of a sepia photograph. And none of them looked confused to be here. Janet hesitated, her hand on the conference room door. "Oh, great," she muttered. "I'm either in trouble or in an episode of The Twilight Zone." Then she pushed the door open and stepped inside. First off, the table had grown. It stretched much further than she remembered. So long the end disappeared into the shadows, like it was trying to escape the fluorescent lights overhead. And the seats were filled, not just with her coworkers from accounting and marketing and whatever it was Greg from IT claimed to do, but with those strangers she'd seen in the hallway. Some wore modern suits. Some were dressed like extras from Mad Men, and one, Janet squinted, looked suspiciously like she'd been pulled straight out of a Civil War reenactment. His name tag, oddly enough, still read Jeff Sales. Mr. Kessler stood at the head of the table, clipboard in hand, his tie crooked in a way that screamed he'd been practicing authority in the mirror. He tapped the clipboard. "Attendance will be taken," he droned. "This is an alignment session. Everyone here is expected to participate." Janet sat down and whispered to Carl, who'd planted himself beside her with a sigh so heavy it nearly tipped the chair. "Alignment session?" she muttered. Carl shrugged. "Sounds like something you do at a tire shop." Across the table, a man in suspenders leaned forward. "It's about synergy," he said, his voice deep and oddly echoing, as though it had traveled through time to reach them. "We're aligning past, present, and future productivity models." Janet blinked. "Cool," she said flatly. "What does that mean in English?" The man only smiled, his teeth unnervingly straight and too white, like porcelain veneers before veneers were a thing. Kessler cleared his throat. "Let's begin. Everyone will introduce themselves, state their department, and share one way they can better embody corporate values." Janet groaned. Around the table, one by one, employees, living, dead, and possibly imaginary, began to introduce themselves. "Edith. Accounts receivable. I can better embody corporate values by ensuring our ledgers are in balance always." "Martin, sales, 1934 division. I embody corporate values by dying at my desk and still closing the quarter strong." Janet froze, her coffee cup halfway to her lips. She looked at Carl, who mouthed, "Did he just say dying?" The introductions continued, each stranger sounding like they'd been pulled from another decade, or another plane of existence. By the time it came around to her, Janet had already decided she was going to make something up. She smiled sweetly at Kessler. "Janet, data, wrangling. I embody corporate values by showing up to every mandatory meeting with my soul intact." A few employees chuckled, though not all of them sounded alive. Janet tried to keep a straight face as the alignment session rolled on. Kessler was now passing out laminated sheets that looked like they'd been printed in 1973. The font screamed mimeograph machine. "These are our new core values," he announced. "Synergy, transparency, eternal commitment, and punctuality." Carl raised his hand. "A question? If I'm dead, do I still have to show up on time?" "Of course," Kessler said without missing a beat. "The afterlife is no excuse for tardiness." That got a murmur of agreement from the table, even from the guy in suspenders who had just admitted he had died in the 30s. Janet stifled a laugh, but the madness only grew. One woman from Secretarial Pool 1958 pulled out a tray of Jell-O molds and offered them down the table. "Maiden snacks," she chirped. Janet swore there was a stapler encased in lime-green gelatin. Then Greg from IT, very much alive, very much real, began arguing with a ghostly typewriter repairman from 1922 about whether machines should have souls. "I'm telling you, cloud storage is the future," Greg snapped. The repairman slapped his fist on the table. "The ribbon never lies!" Kessler, apparently unfazed, pressed on. "Now let's break into groups and role-play team-building exercises." Janet groaned. Of course, the corporate version of hell. She was paired with Carl, the Civil War salesman, and Edith from Accounts Receivable, who may or may not have been embalmed. Their assignment? Pitch a new product that embodies our values. Carl immediately leaned forward, whispering, "Okay, hear me out. Zombie energy drinks." Edith's eyes lit up. "Brilliant. Our values are eternal. It sells itself." Janet massaged her temples. "This is why I drink wine out of a mug at home." When their group presented, Kessler actually applauded. "Now that's innovation! Take note, everyone!" Janet caught Carl's eye. They both mouthed the same word at the same time. Unbelievable. By the 2-hour mark, Janet was sure she had slipped into some kind of dimension where meetings were the dominant life form. Kessler clapped his hands. "Excellent zombie energy drink pitch! Now, moving on. Action items." The ghosts perked up like caffeinated interns. Edith from Accounts Receivable was scribbling with a pencil that wasn't even touching paper. Carl adjusted his long-dead cravat and muttered, "Nothing scarier than deliverables." Jana raised her hand. "Excuse me, how long is this supposed to go?" Kessler grinned. "Until alignment is achieved." Janet blinked. "Alignment with what?" "The quarterly goals of eternity," Kessler replied. The room erupted in applause. Greg from IT groaned audibly. "This is literally hell. This is literally the meeting that never ends." "Incorrect," Kessler barked. "There will be an end. Right after we circle back to the mission statement, brainstorm our synergy strategy, and reimagine our workflow paradigm." Janet whispered to Carl, "If I hear the phrase 'circle back' one more time, I'm throwing myself out the window." Carl nodded gravely. "Already tried. Window led back into this conference room." The fluorescent lights above flickered, buzzing louder and louder until Janet realized they were blinking in Morse code. She squinted. The message spelled out, "Leave while you can." She jumped up. "Okay, I'm done. I've got an actual job and it involves deadlines that don't stretch into eternity." But when she headed for the door, she noticed something horrifying. There were dozens of doors all along the conference room walls, stretching farther than they should. Each one labeled things like Break Room A, Break Room B, Break Room C. Kessler beamed. "Oh, wonderful! We can split into breakout sessions!" The ghosts cheered. Janet groaned. "Oh no! Oh, hell no!" Carl leaned in, half smiling. "Guess the only way out is through." Janet sighed, muttered something unprintable under her breath, and reached for the nearest door, hoping against hope that it didn't just lead to another all-staff meeting. Janet gripped the handle of the nearest door and yanked it open. Fluorescent light spilled out, harsh and buzzing. She stepped through, bracing herself. And there it was. The same long conference table, the same binders, the same stale smell of burnt coffee. Kessler looked up from his notes, smiling wide. "Oh, good, you're back. Now, where were we? Ah, yes, synergy." Janet froze. Her heart sank. Carl gave her a pitying glance from across the table. "Told you," he whispered. The ghosts all nodded solemnly. Janet slumped into her chair. "This really is hell." Kessler clapped his hands. "No, Janet, this is corporate culture." The room erupted in polite, soulless laughter as the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Eternal. Inescapable.
A PSA from Instacart. It's Sunday, 5 p.m. You had a non-stop weekend. You're running on empty. And so is your fridge. You're in the trenches of the Sunday scaries. You don't have it in you to go to the store, but this is your reminder. You don't have to. You can get everything you need delivered through Instacart so that you can get what you really need. More time to do whatever you want. Instacart. For one less Sunday scary, we're here.
NetCredit is here to say yes to a personal loan or line of credit when other lenders say no. Apply in minutes and get a decision as soon as the same day. Loans offered by NetCredit or lending partner banks and serviced by NetCredit. Application subject to review and approval. Learn more at netcredit.com/partner. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
An eternal staff meeting? That's actually worse than any haunted hospital story I've got.
Exactly. Ghosts and monsters you can fight. Middle management, you're trapped forever.
You'd think the afterlife would have better HR policies.
Oh, it does. They're just buried under 12 binders of paperwork and nobody's ever read them.
Well, if I ever get stuck in an internal meeting, I'm haunting you first.
That's fair. Just make sure to bring donuts.
Deal. See you tomorrow, Mason.
And remember, check your calendar invites carefully. They might be from beyond the grave. Tales from the Blue Line by Auditory Anthology is written and produced by me, Keith Conrad. Your narrator is Darren Marlar. Be sure to check out Darren's award-winning paranormal podcast, Weird Darkness, available at WeirdDarkness.com and your podcast app of choice. If you have a story you'd like to contribute to this series, you can do so by visiting submissions.soundconceptmedia.com or just follow the link in the show notes. You can also support the show by subscribing to our new Substack at auditoryanthology.substack.com. By becoming a paid subscriber, you'll help keep the stories coming. You'll also get every single episode completely commercial-free, and now you can also vote on which story will feature in upcoming episodes.
Hey, hate to do this. Could we reschedule
our morning hike? I was just about to ask the same.
Next week? Yes, it's Dunkin' Original Blend time.
Staying at home with Dunkin'? Don't mind if I do.
The home with Dunkin' is where you want to be. If low energy, weight gain, or a drop in sex drive are holding you back, testosterone replacement therapy from Henry Meds may help you reclaim your edge. Their TRT treatments are backed by trusted providers who understand men's health. It's 100% online and discreet and includes free labs for a flat monthly fee. Start your journey towards strength and performance. Visit henrymeds.com/TRT to learn more and get $50 off today. Not all patients are eligible. Results may vary. Consult a healthcare provider to determine if treatment is right for you.